You're going to go to sleep. You're going to start snoring. And then you're going to pass away quietly.
Later today, one of the inmates in this prison will be put to death.
I'd say of the 32 people that I've executed, I'd say probably 20% of the people would say you're executing an innocent man.
An execution in America is still relatively common. What's different about this case is that the condemned man didn't kill anyone.
I've never been in trouble in my life with the law or with anybody. We're in the best country in the world. How can this happen in this country?
Richard Glossip is 52 and has spent 17 years on death row protesting his innocence.
Death is different. You got to make sure it's beyond the shadow of a doubt.
And he's got some high-profile supporters.
He's a perfect example of what's wrong with the death penalty.
But the state of Oklahoma says he will die.
Richard Glossip's attorneys have had ample opportunities to make all the points and all the arguments we heard today. They've all been rejected multiple times, and so the execution will go forward.
For 8 months, I've been following the curious case of a man who's about to be executed for a murder which someone else committed. Richard Glossip is an inmate at Oklahoma State Penitentiary. We speak regularly on the phone, but we've never met until now. I want to meet him face to face because he's asked me to be a witness at his execution.
I didn't commit this crime. And there's no doubt in my mind that I may die because of this.
It's January 1997, and the owner of Oklahoma City's best budget inn has been found dead in room 102. Barry Van Treese was beaten to death with a baseball bat. His motel was often used by drug addicts and prostitutes, but the man who killed him was a 19-year-old handyman who lived and worked there.
This is my partner.
In this police interview, Justin Sneed confesses to the crime, but encouraged by the detectives, he agrees someone else was involved.
We think, we know that this involves more than just you, okay? You know, everybody's saying you're the one that did this and you did it by yourself, and I don't believe that.
Sneed said that the motel manager Richard Glossip paid him to do it and agreed to testify against him in return for a lighter sentence. He went to jail. Glossip was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. Ed Blau worked in the district attorney's office at the time of Glossip's trial.
People are convicted of murder and other crimes all of the time based on accomplice testimony, based on circumstantial evidence. I mean, that's what the law is in the United States. However, when you're giving somebody the ultimate punishment, we've become accustomed to there being more. There being a confession, there being videotape evidence, there being a mountain of evidence. And in this particular case, if you're looking at it through the lens of the death penalty, the evidence does not seem to be substantial enough to warrant that. And I believe that's why it's getting the scrutiny it is.
Just like in Dead Man Walking, Susan Sarandon is fighting to get one man off death row.
In recent weeks, the case has been getting huge publicity. Much of it is down to the involvement of the actress Susan Sarandon and an interview she gave to Sky News in July.
Bad representation, 2 trials that were ridiculous. I mean, he's a perfect example of what's wrong with the death penalty. And so, of course, I'm hoping that some kind of exposure will give him the opportunity to maybe, get his sentence at least commuted, because he's clearly innocent.
I have ordained thee. I have called thee by thy name.
The actress won an Oscar for her role in the movie Dead Man Walking. She played Sister Helen Prejean, a nun who works with death row prisoners. Here they are together in one scene. Sister Helen is now 76, but still active against the death penalty. She agreed to be Richard Glossip's spiritual advisor and will be there when he's executed.
He always asks me, Sister Helen, what do you think is really going to happen on the 16th? And I say to him, sometimes I feel like I'm Peter walking on water in the gospel story. I say to him, Richard, you are not going to die.
Come in.
These are from January till now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, until...
And his case does seem to attract a lot of public support from around the world. These are some of the letters and cards which have been sent to him and which he reads and replies to before passing them on to his niece for safekeeping.
I know these three guys would have been in your side.
One from Britain reflected his favourite TV show, Last of the Summer Wine.
Does it bring any comfort, seeing all these letters and seeing these people who write to him?
Yes, it does. It means that we're being heard and people are seeing for themselves that he's innocent. And this is helping him to have his positive outlook every day, knowing that people do care.
If the worst comes to the worst and September the 16th comes around and the governor hasn't intervened and no new evidence has emerged, what do you do? What do you do in the day?
Just pray that it's quick and just peaceful.
The governor of Oklahoma has the power to grant a 60-day stay of execution. More than 250,000 people have signed an online petition. But Mary Fallon refuses to do so, or meet campaigners herself.
We heard a lot about Richard Glossip and what he's going through right now. There is a real victim in this case. It's Barry Van Treese, who was beaten to death in his sleep. It's his 7 kids, and it's his wife. And we have heard from members of his family who are satisfied with both the verdict for Richard Glossip and the justice of his death sentence.
Barry Van Treese's widow, Donna, had agreed to an interview with me, but then cancelled without explanation. This is what she told an Oklahoma TV reporter last January when Richard Glossip had his original execution date postponed.
Sure, there's anger there. You know, there's anger that you want it to be over with. You want this part to be finished. You want to be able to take a breath and to carry on knowing that justice has been served.
I'm truly sorry for what happened to Barry. I am. But I had nothing to do with it. I truly had nothing to do with it. I would not have hurt Barry in any way, shape, or form, and I surely wouldn't have had somebody else do it for me.
The prosecution said Glossip wanted Van Treese dead because he feared he was about to be fired from his job. And they pointed to suspicious behaviour when Van Treese was reported missing. He initially failed to tell detectives that Sneed had admitted to him he'd murdered their boss.
I made some really bad decisions after the fact. I'm not saying I didn't. But I think I paid for them with 17 years of my life.
That interview was conducted last November by Fox 25 reporter Phil Cross. The prison authorities have refused to allow me or anyone else another chance to talk to him on camera.
He comes across as very genuine, and I believe that he definitely believes in his innocence.
It's not the first time that an Oklahoma execution is under close scrutiny. Last year, inmate Clayton Lockett took 3/4 of an hour to die, focusing more attention on the method used to kill prisoners.
Routinely looking for options.
Earlier this year, Glossip appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court to stop the execution, not on the basis of his innocence, but that the drugs used in lethal injections cause unnecessary suffering. The court turned him down 5-4.
Most of them that I watched.
Few people in America have witnessed as many executions as Randall Workman. For 10 years, he was the warden at Oklahoma State Penitentiary. He's watched 32 people, male and female, being put to death.
I have had some individuals that were being executed that was very nurturing to us, and said, I'm going to go to heaven, don't worry about me, everything is just fine. I have had some individuals that told me, you're going to go to hell. You are committing murder yourself.
Were you never worried that mistakes could be made and that an innocent man was being executed?
I hear the stories and I see the shows where the DNA has proven that a person was wrongfully committed. Can I say it's possible? Yes. Yes, I can say that it's possible. Do I personally feel like that I've executed somebody that is innocent? I'd say it's not for me to say.
There are 3,000 inmates on death row in America, 48 of them in Oklahoma. Richard Glossip will be the first to be executed here since June's Supreme Court ruling on lethal injection. He's had many lawyers over the years, but dawn night is the latest to try to find some new piece of evidence which could save his life.
The Governor's office would say, and had said, why do you need 60 days? You've had 18 years to try to gather all this evidence. Why has it been left until these last few months?
I haven't had 18 years to do the work that I would do as Mr. Glossip's lawyer. I saw the work that the other lawyers have done in this case, and I think, quite frankly, they should be ashamed of themselves. There wasn't any work done. There wasn't any investigation done. This was a one-sided fight that the government waged against Mr. Glossip, and they got what they wanted.
And there have been approaches to the killer, Justin Sneed, to try to get him to recant the evidence that put Glossip on death row.
Yeah, I wrote Justin a letter and I met with him yesterday. The nature of what we talked about was confidential because I went in as the capacity as a spiritual advisor and just understanding that he was a 19-year-old kid under a lot of pressure. And I've actually gotten him a lawyer, a very good lawyer, to help him through whatever steps he's going to take.
But time is almost up. Today, at 3 o'clock, he'll be taken to the death chamber. And yet just over a week ago when I visited him, he remained upbeat. His family don't want to watch him die, so will hold a vigil outside the prison when it happens. But they believe he's now accepted his fate.
Yeah, he's accepted it, and he's at peace with it. He's fine. He holds no grudges against anyone, and like he said, he wants to die happy.
I'm not going to let this bring me down and take away the spirit that I have in me or the soul that I have in me. My main goal was to make sure that the whole world knew that I was innocent. And that's why when you came up to visit me, you saw, that I laugh a lot, I smile a lot. I smile all the time because that's me anyway. I've always been that way.
He said an extraordinary phrase. He said he's going to dance to the death chamber. When I looked at him and I said, you're going to have to explain that phrase, otherwise people are going to think you're crazy. And he said, well, I'm not going to literally dance there, but, I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to be fine. I'm going to walk into the death chamber and I'm going to sit down on the gurney of my own free will. And it's going to be the happiest execution they've ever seen. This is a man who still maintains his innocence, but it's more important for him to clear his name in the court of public opinion, it seems, even though the courts in Oklahoma convicted him of murder.